Gary, hit the music.
The thoughts and ideas expressed in this podcast are solely those of the authors and guests of the podcast. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Soberless Thoughts.
That's Alex Corley.
That's Michael Odenbeck.
And these are
Soberless Thoughts.
And tonight we are drinking a beer that I have absolutely zero chance of pronouncing. And when I went to buy it, I just showed the guy at the store a picture of it and said, "Do you have this? And if you do, find it for me, please, and put it in my cart. Thank you very much."
Not even gonna try it, huh?
No.
No.
It's really fun.
I mean, we can try to sound it out.
No, it's really fun to try when you're already drunk.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine going to a bar. You're like, yeah, give me a Weizenfender.
That voice you heard, my bad, is an expert that we're having on the podcast tonight, an expert at all things related to the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, the swamp monkey, if you will.
We're bringing that back. We're bringing that back. Okay.
It's not a monkey, it's an ape.
Yeah.
Member of the great ape family.
Yeah.
Right. The swamp ape. My bad. Swamp
Yeah, get
ape.
it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Zac Wicks is who I'm talking about. Mr. Zac Wicks. Appreciate you being on the podcast.
Appreciate you having me on here.
And this was actually his idea to drink this beer that I can't pronounce.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Weihenstephaner Hefeweiss beer. Had a lot of practice ordering that at the beer trap in Lexington.
Nice. All right. What he said. Alex, tell me about this beer.
All right. So Hefeweizen, which basically roughly translates to like a wheat beer, and that's kind of what they made out of. So this is going to be a little bit more of a citrusy, you could even vaguely say sweet, but not really. A little bit more of a citrusy beer, a little smell of cloves to it. It's definitely going to be like a golden yellow, maybe even a little orangey tint, depending on whose Hefeweizen you're trying. It does also, I think it's also, I was reading too, that in German, they thought also one translation is white beer. And from that, it was original wheat beer. So it's like wheat beer to white beer to Hefeweizen. This one we got, the Weihenstephaner. Almost there. I got to be honest. I've had this beer before, and every time I've also been to Lexington. I usually was always doing it at Marika's, but I would just like, give me that one. No, lower. No, to the right. That one. The Hefeweizen. Like I got Hefeweizen. So this one is 5.4% alcohol. So it's, it's a solid beer, solid drinking beer, good on like a hot summer's day. I always like these kind of beers like that. It says it pairs well with seafood, but what beer doesn't if you drink enough of it? Then it actually scored on the Beer Advocate at 98. So it's actually up there. It's pretty high. So I'm pretty excited about it.
There's another cool note about this is that this beer has been brewed the same way for 1,000 years. I believe the recipe started in 1050. And yeah, it's the oldest beer in the world.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, God damn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Coming over top.
Well, let's drink it and taste it and see what it's all about then. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
They were doing it right at 1050.
It does it does taste like the Middle Ages.
Totally. You know what's weird? That's like the first time you've said something like that where I'm like, I could see that. I could totally see it. Yeah. Usually it's like, I feel like sometimes you're like, I feel like if I was driving a Jaguar out in the summer night of California, I'm like, you got all of that from a beer taste? Wow, this stuff really transports you. But this one I could totally see, like we all sitting around eating a roasted, I don't know, goat leg or something.
Yeah.
For sure. And you know what's funny? As soon as you said that the fact that it being the oldest, I literally read the beer bottle where it said the world's oldest brewery. I'm like, damn, my attention to detail is next to none.
Well, they always had it on tap at the beer trap, and they always had the tap list there. And it said that it was the oldest beer in the world in so many words. So
Yeah.
I also read that quite often.
Yeah. Give me another of the oldest beer ever.
But it tastes good, man. I mean, they had their recipe right.
Yeah.
No need to change.
It's almost like it's like the great white shark or like alligators. Like it didn't have to evolve.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. It's the dinosaur, the beer class.
Yeah.
And speaking of dinosaurs, let's get in to the great ape, the one, the only Bigfoot Uriacus.
Okay.
Is that what?
That's the right. That's the scientific name for it, right?
That sounded like a nerdy middle name from like your name's Uriacus?
I'm Euchariah. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah.
But listen, that's what I call it. It's Bigfoot Uriacus. It's his name.
No, sorry. I think my internet crapped out there for a second.
Oh, you're good. We're just debating Uriacus over here.
Good excuse, Zach. Right. Just steer clear of the Uriacus chat. All right. So, all right, Zac Wicks, Bigfoot expert and expert witness to a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. Multiple.
Nice.
Actually, I believe I was at your house one time, and we did wood knock exercise, and then we heard a response.
Did we?
We did, and then we heard a bunch of dogs off in the distance start losing their freaking minds.
Was it dogs or coyotes?
It might have been coyotes.
It's usually coyotes when you start in with that stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
But it was what was weird to me about it was it wasn't just like, oh, well, it's the ones over there in that valley. It was like from multiple directions. They were losing their shit. And I was like, damn. All right, let's go inside.
All right. So fill me and the viewers on so what's this knock thing you're talking about?
So if you don't mind, before I go into that, throw out my credentials a little bit. I have a Master of Science in Biomechanics. And that's something that people have been trying to use on Bigfoot videos in relative recent history as kind of saying like, yes or no, this is fake, this is not fake, this doesn't make sense. But beyond that, so wood knocking, it's actually a habit of primates. Mountain gorillas do this. What they do is they post what has been termed by science a sentry at the edge of where the troop is residing for the moment. And if that sentry sees any sort of danger, humans, what it'll do is it'll pick up a stick and it'll hit it on the tree. And here's something that we should talk about later is how many strikes it actually seems like it's a language. But they'll strike it on a tree, and that sound carries so well that when the troop hears that wood knock, they know that it's a danger. Everybody get up and flee from the direction that sentry went. And something that I found in one of the times that I got some really good wood knocking responses, the amount of knocks almost translated to a language.
Nice.
like, hey, Bertha, we're short on some wheat juice up here. Can you bring us something to drink?
That's 3 knocks.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's like a evolutionary Morse code.
Mm-hmm. Because there are no other creatures, well, that can pick up a stick like that.
Yeah.
And they're intelligent enough just to know that sound. But yeah, that's a well documented phenomenon with gorillas.
That's cool.
So we're thinking that Bigfoot then also does the wood knocks.
Yes. There are a lot of documented cases where, well, you said with ours, my brain's a little foggy from college years, but I've had other responses on different occasions. You'll see it on some of the TV shows where they'll try it, because you can get a response. And frankly, it's pretty fucking creepy when it actually happens.
Yeah, it tripped me out. So like I said, I was like, all right, let's go back inside.
Yeah.
Let's turn on Lord of the Rings or something.
Yep. There you go. But yeah, it's so crazy because you mentioned the coyotes, and not a proper nature expert, but I wonder if there's some sort of maybe a relation, maybe that Sasquatches follow coyotes for their kills and almost act like a scavenger for their meat, and then do their gathering separately. So then coyotes, if they know there's a Bigfoot in the area, kind of lose their shit and tell the other coyotes like, hey, your food's about to get stolen.
What if there's like just a natural language that pretty much all other animals on this planet can communicate with, but are, for whatever reason, humans lost that language or lost that sense that the other animals in the animal kingdom just naturally have and could communicate with. And for whatever reason, we've lost that through evolution, or maybe because we're from a different planet originally, or whatever.
I mean, we do have a very poor sense of smell, and that's kind of universal between even mammals, insects. Everything goes off of pheromones. So maybe there's that, but as far as a spoken language, no, I have an audible language. I've never considered that.
Now, I do got a question for you about that. So if the wood knocking is a sign or an alarm, or even like could be a messaging system, if you would knocked a coyotes or a Bigfoot, like wouldn't you be telling them that like there's danger in the area, and then you would be less likely to see a Bigfoot?
So the best instance that I've gotten, I guess I'll just tell the story, because it explains that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It was in March of 2012, under a full moon. So if I need to, I can look up the date. I kind of meant to do that earlier, but whatever. Under a full moon. And I was dating this girl at the time. We had been watching Finding Bigfoot, and I was like, man, this is so cool. Like, I've seen some weird shit out here. Why don't we try this? So we went out in the yard and went down to the far end of the house, and off in, let's see, that would be kind of like a northwestern direction from the house. I've had other experiences out there, and I'll tell those at some time tonight. But
explain a little bit like the area that you lived in at the time.
Middle of fucking nowhere.
Right.
Absolute middle of nowhere. It was 5 minutes to a gas station. There are 3 stoplights in the entire county, and we're a big deal. We got one of those stoplights up in the town. So there is nothing. I mean, the light pollution is basically zero. You can see the stars every night if there's no clouds. I mean, it's fantastic, but it's like deathly quiet, and the power tends to go out there a lot. So when the power does go out, my parents had a generator, and you would stare out the windows, and it was like being in a black hole. I mean, it was just so fucking dark out there if the moon wasn't out. I mean, it was genuinely unsettling.
Right.
So absolute middle of nowhere. So we started knocking on this tree, and I started doing 2 knocks. And within a couple of minutes from this direction, so I guess north, I think that's kind of a northwestern direction, we would hear a single knock response. And then from a more northeastern direction, there was a roar that, and I had heard it once before when I was a little bit younger, back then I smoked cigarettes and I had popped out on a full moon. It was cold because I had on a big heavy bathrobe and, you know, pajama pants and all that. And there was a cinder block outside of my door. And I'm just standing there burning a cigarette, you know, kind of looking out. And it was one of those real pretty nights where the moon has that halo around it, you know, that's kind of takes up like half the sky.
Yeah.
And I heard a sound, and I'd never heard it before then, and I've heard something similar in some videos that I've seen. But the way I described it was what I imagine it would actually sound like for a human being to transform into a werewolf. Because it was just so loud, powerful, guttural, and just primal. And I've lived out in that area. You know, I lived there for 20 something years. I know every sound. I know what a coyote sounds like. I know what turkeys sound like. You know, occasionally you'll have you can kind of get sounds out of deer if you're out, you know, especially out in like Western Kentucky. You know, I know what a person's dog sounds like, you know, just a regular farm dog. This sound, there's nothing like it. So back to the night in March of 2012, I would knock twice. We would hear one knock to the northwest, and we would hear that similar roaring scream off to the northeast. And then we would wait 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and I would hit 2 knocks on the tree again, and it would repeat. This went on for 5-10 minutes. I mean, we're just so astounded by it. You know, it's like, is this really happening? You know, and I had a conversation with my dad as just this pure skeptic, and said, so you mean to tell me that 2 crazy rednecks just wandered off in the woods that night at random, and all right, I'm going to go over here and you go over there, and we'll do these sounds, and we'll just mess with somebody if they would knock at us, and we'll stay out here all night.
Right.
So, like I said, this goes on 5-10 minutes, and we're just like in shock, and I'm waiting for something to come walking into the yard. And then I finally decided, I was like, let me switch this from 2 knocks to 1 knock. And it stopped. They would not respond again for the rest of the night. And it almost, you know, she and I talked about it, and I've talked with other people about it. It seems like 2 knocks was, where are you? 1 knock, I guess a 1 knock response to that was, I'm over here. And then the scream was probably, I am the dominant male in this territory. Stay the fuck out of this area.
Right.
And then
did the scream happen every time? Like
every time.
It would be 2 knocks, then 1 knock, then scream.
Yes.
Wow.
It was mind blowing. And it, you know, you were in speech class with me when I did a speech on this years ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, the sound was like that, but of course, in person, carried out across the hills and hollers of Kentucky, and no more. Oh, that's another thing. The general area that it was off in is no more than a half mile. The dogs that were over in that part of the hillside were going fucking crazy the entire time.
They knew what was up.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't know what it looks like, you know that's the sound of something really, really big that can rip you in half.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure there's another story that you have where you actually saw Bigfoot, or thought you saw.
So in the same field, the northwestern field where I was getting the single knocks from, I was probably 12, maybe 11, you know, something like somewhere around that age where, you know, there's not a monster under the bed is kind of a way to put it. You know, you're not going to imagine.
Yeah. Where you finally figured that out.
Yeah. So, you have enough rational thought to be able to kind of put that together.
Alex still thinks there's a monster under his bed, by the way.
All right. What's his name?
Oh, it's aliens.
I know some stories. I know some alien stories from a buddy of mine. But some pretty fucking bad ones, actually. Yeah. I saw a gray touching him on the foot when he was a kid one time. So.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. I saw a UFO in high school. It was creepy.
I've seen shapes out there in the middle of nowhere where it's like that thing is not an airplane, and yet it has lights on it that aren't where they're supposed to be, and it's moving in ways that it's not supposed to move. So
ours was more of it was kind of like just to kind of give you a rough thing. We were kind of driving through the backwoods of we're going from one county to another around like Lincoln County, Boyle County, that kind of thing. And we were driving by a cornfield. It just was. I didn't put it there. It's just what it was. And we just happened to see something floating above the cornfield. And the car got quiet. I was driving my buddy's car, and everyone just stopped and stared at this thing as we like topped this hill. And then I break the silence by as anyone would do, going, "What the fuck is that?" Right? I asked the question everyone was thinking. And as soon as I hit the word "that," the car I'm driving, which wasn't my car, mind you, the speedometer went from 60 all the way to 0. I had my foot all the way down on the gas, and the car just stopped. And now we're stuck on the side of the road. I try, and like everyone's thinking I'm messing with them. They're like, "Dude, stop messing around." I turn it on, turn it off. It's not doing nothing, but the lights are coming on. That's the weird part. Well, then, like, I kind of stop, try to turn it back on real quick. Then I like, screw that. I get out, run down the street, try to like, I see like a hay bale, one of those big giant round bales. I jump on top of it, look over the cornfield, nothing there. Everyone else I look over, they're all standing on top of the Ford Explorer is what we had at the time. Mm-hmm. Nothing, right? And then basically 2 days later, we called like some people that came and picked us up. Our buddy's dad got his car. That Monday morning, my buddy comes in kind of like a little shocked, goes, "You all aren't going to believe this." And we're like, "What?" And we had just told like some other friends what we saw. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "So I took my car to the mechanic. And he said that everything electrical in this car is like jacked." He's like, "It's like someone took a giant magnet and magnetized the entire car." Mm-hmm. And we're all like, "Holy shit." And then at that point, we're all like, "Should we tell someone?" Mm-hmm. And it was actually my fault we didn't, because I go, "All right, I was like, let me just be honest with you all. Look at who we are." I was like, "We're a bunch of like," I was like, "We are kind of the fuck ups of this school. No one is going to believe us."
Been there.
Yeah. I was like, me and one of the guy, we were in like a punk rock band. Like two of them were like hardcore Rage Against the Machine fans, like "fuck the norm, Hunter S. Thompson's God," that kind of stuff. And then like the other kid was like just a metalhead, just your average, and like I was just like, just look at us. Do you think anyone's gonna believe a word we say? Right.
Nope.
Been there.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, we didn't see a Bigfoot, which I'm sad. Which I was going to ask you too. What part of Kentucky were you living at? Like, you don't got to tell, like, tell you where you're living, but like, what were you more on the western part, like towards, or more eastern,
northern.
like
northern?
Northern. Okay.
Yeah. About 30 minutes from NKU, but that immediate, like, you go 15 minutes past NKU and you're in the country.
Oh yeah. This one over here, Michael O.
Yes, sir.
You've definitely driven me around northern Kentucky where I'm like, this seems like home.
Now, where were you from?
Danville, Boyle County, central, essentially. Middle, baby in the middle.
I used to drive down the Western Kentucky Parkway to get to my grandparents' house years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
So, yeah.
But I was gonna say also, which I was gonna bring up earlier too, since Mike has said you're the like foremost or the the expert here on Bigfoot. I was gonna ask, like, one thing I was wanting to see is like, where are the most sightings at? Is it more like eastern, western part of the United States? It's more.
Well, before you answer that, Zach, I want you to finish your story about when you were 12 and you saw Bigfoot.
Yeah, we got off on sidetrack.
we always do that.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's the hallmark of a good conversation.
Yeah.
So I've been invited to go camping with a neighbor and like his buddy and then their kids. There were like probably 5 kids, and there was this lone tree kind of out in the middle of the field, far end. And this field, man, I'm really bad at gauging distance. It's just never been one of my strong suits. I would say where we were was maybe a half mile from my parents' house, but it was out in, pretty thick woods. It was just, cattle farm, or there was some space for cattle, but there was a lot of hills and so on, and a lot of trees, and it just disappears or turns into just nothing but forest. You go any further than that. And anyways, I'm just laying there, and after we've all gone to bed, and I can still remember we had pork and beans, and oddly, for whatever reason, that's the first time I ever had pork and beans. I don't know. My dad was a vegetarian growing up, so I didn't have a lot of stuff like that. But anyways, we'd all laid down, and I was in this tent with one other kid, and that this kind of skews it a little bit, but whatever. I kept imagining this big hand coming up and grabbing the torch or the lantern out of the tree, because we were camping right underneath. I just kept imagining that, and it just freaked me out so fucking bad. I grabbed up the flashlight and I looked at the other kid. And I was like, look, it's a 10-minute walk back to the house at the very most. I walk through these woods all the time. I'm walking back. Y'all just knock on the door tomorrow and get this flashlight back, but I'm going home. So the whole time I'm sitting there just back and forth scanning this flashlight nonstop. And, I kind of wish we had like a little whiteboard or something. I'd draw you the way that this field was set up. But there was, from where I was walking back to the house, it kind of drops off into a ravine over here. And it's actually been turned into a lake over the years. Somebody bought it and paid a bunch of money. But on this side, it led over to more cattle pasture, but the trees kind of came up in a V, and a fence line ran through that. And there were trees on the opposite side of the fence, and there was nothing on the side I was on. And about where those trees kind of V in on the fence, I was scanning, and I just stop, because I see a pair of eyes. Each one of them has to be, they look like they're just absolutely massive. And I used to climb over this fence all the time, and it was about as tall as I was. And I've been this height, since I was like 12, something like that. I had to hit my growth spurt pretty early. So I knew that these eyes were over 7 feet up. Okay. That's not a cow. That's not a deer. It's just too tall.
Right.
It can't be a coon or a possum because the eyes are too big. And this fucking thing stared at me and they were green. That's something I hear in different Bigfoot stories. They're either green or they're red. Their eye shine. So, but I'm sitting there staring at this thing, and occasionally it would blink. And I kept waiting for this huge shape to just bound over the fence and come charging at me, and then oblivion, that's the end of the show. But I finally, I started walking, and it just kept staring, and it kept its eyes on me until I reached the front fence line, which got into the little subdivision that they lived in. And I don't think I've ever ran so fucking fast in my life as that time. When I got to the fence line, I felt like I had enough time, and I just booked it straight into the fucking house. absolutely terrifying because, like I said, there is no other logical explanation as to what was up in that tree. And these eyes were massive. And I've seen, cats, coons, possums, I've seen their eye shine before, and it's small.
Was it up in the tree?
You see, that was the problem. It was a very weak flashlight. It was enough, it kind of like a low-powered spotlight.
Yeah.
Just enough for, you could kind of get a glimpse of everything. I did not get a full visual of whatever was there. You could kind of make out the fence, and it was standing right behind the fence, just watching.
Was it a thoroughbred? A tall horse had got out and was in that field back there.
I think it would have to be a Clydesdale if it was that tall.
Yeah, Clydesdale.
Exactly. It would have.
Was it drinking a Budweiser?
Still couldn't have been that because horses' eyes are off kind of on the side.
Oh, yeah.
Good call.
So, I mean, no, this was straight on.
Yeah.
Y'all, I can still see it. That moment when that flashlight landed on it and it just sat there and just kept staring at me. It couldn't have been, like I said, I'm bad at gauging distance. Couldn't have been 50 feet from me.
Yeah. It was staring at you. It was like, what's this little child human thing doing?
This is what I've been smelling.
Yep.
This is what I'm over here investigating.
Is
I'm
he
curious?
Yeah. Which way is he going? Oh, he's going up towards that human hut. Okay. All right.
That's wild. What color did you say it was? Green?
Green eye shine.
Oh, that's wild.
I've heard red, but
yeah. I wonder. So, like, this is, I don't know, just random of me. By no means is this what that was by any means, but I know if, like, this goes sound some backwoods shit, but if you ever go frog gigging, especially down in Louisiana, if you're shining a light, if the eyes are red, it's an alligator, but if it's green, it's a frog.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, there's got to be something in the pupils that are different between the two that make the color difference. And that's what I was sitting there thinking, like, ooh, that means, like, maybe if it's red, it's more of an amphibian, or not amphibian, but more stays in the water longer. I don't know.
Well, I believe some wolves have a red eye shine as well.
Oh, okay. So
what about coyotes?
Green.
Oh, well, see.
Greenish white.
Why do humans have red eye shine?
That is the light from the camera that happens to reflect out of the eye. So it's not really an eye shine because eye shine is indicative of night vision.
Oh, so humans don't have eye shine.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because we're from another planet.
Well, except for that boy in China that can see in the dark. I don't know if you read about that kid. His eyes are like, oh man, they're almost like neon green, like they're like white, like the pupils, but he can see in the dark.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's badass. It's Riddick anyway.
Right.
Thank you.
He's an X-Man.
No shit.
Yeah.
Stan Lee used to have a show called Superhumans, and he found people like that, where like this guy was impervious to electrical shock, and another guy just did not feel the effects of cold. We have a chemical that gets set off in our bodies when we're holding our breath, and it basically says like, hey, you've got to breathe, and it can't recirculate the oxygen. This guy's body doesn't do it. So the guy can basically hold his breath indefinitely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
weird shit. But yeah, it's a show called Stan Lee's Superhumans, I believe.
I do remember seeing that. I don't remember watching too many of the episodes, but I remember that when that was on. I feel like there was you brought up somebody. I was thinking of like those people that can't feel pain, or it's the thought fell out of my head. I'm sorry.
Well, that's a curse. When those guys that can't feel pain, that's a curse.
Yeah.
Because you would break your toe and you wouldn't even know it. You slice your whole left ball off, and you'd have no clue.
I realized who I was thinking of. I was thinking of the guy in Russia who had a negatively charged body, who you could take metal and it would stick to him because he was magnetized, and also had been struck by lightning by like 6 times or something crazy. And he like, even after this dude died, his grave site got shut like electrically, whatever. He got struck by lightning. I don't know why the hell I was trying to go the long route.
I know what you're talking about. I vaguely remember that story, but yeah, that after he died, the lightning struck his grave like 3 times or something.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's just a beacon.
He was like his Magneto.
He was Lord Raiden.
There we go.
Mortal Kombat's coming out. People watch it. Anyway,
what was the question you would ask me? Oh, you'd asked about sighting concentration.
Yes.
Yeah. That's. I was just curious because it was one of those things that I like. I've kind of done a little research. There's like tales of like certain parts of Russia. They would talk about the abominable snowman, especially I can't remember what mountain it is, but it's like notorious for them. And then there's like Tibet. I think they were talking about sightings of abominable snowman as well. But then also like United States, there's been sightings of different Bigfoots on the East Coast, on the West Coast. Yep. And actually, this is the thing I was going to bring up earlier real quick. For my, my bachelor party? I know this can be so damn random. There was the Bigfoot festival. And when all my buddies were like, what do you want to do for your bachelor party? And I think it was Mike that was like, hey man, there's a Bigfoot festival in South Carolina. I was like, damn it, I kind of want to go to that. Like, and I sent it out into the in our little group text, and just one of my buddies goes, that sounds like the most Alex Gorley thing I've ever heard in my life.
I like it.
To go on your bachelor party. I'm like, what? You get hammered, you walk around, we could get some face masks, just have a good time. But anyway.
Well, on the note of festivals, in Kentucky, we can talk about this too at some point. There is the Kelly, Kentucky UFO Festival. I think I mentioned to Mike about the Green Men of Kelly, Kentucky.
Yes.
Very, very famous alien encounter. My dad grew up, I think, 10 minutes from the farm. So, it's a pretty wild story. Basically, a farmhouse was beset by floating aliens one night. And not only the people would shoot them, and they said they would sound like you were shooting a trash can. So we got some blinkers here.
Yeah.
But they said it sounded like shooting a trash can. The thing would fall over and then get back up and float away. The police heard all the shots. People saw signs in the skies. And they did find like some green residue that they couldn't identify. And I'm sure it's gone at this point. But
yeah.
And then there's the Mothman Festival, which I went to in 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016.
That's in Kentucky?
No, that's in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's about 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I thought it was somewhere else. I was like, man, that thing freaks me out. I don't know why.
But yeah, I've been in Point Pleasant. It's a nice town, but it's got this creepy air to it. I was there at a festival too. I'd like to go back when it was like quiet and cool because it was September, so it was hot as fuck. But I've stood next to the statue, and like you can take tours out into the quarries and shit. And there's another festival within driving distance you guys can check out. That's usually in September.
Oh yeah. And at some point, we do need to go to South Carolina to the Bigfoot Festival because we'll have our own fucking booth down there.
I was about to say that. What better thing? Just bring this setup and just booth it up and just be like, all right, let's get into it.
I can dig it. So you were talking about the Bigfoot sightings around the states.
Yeah.
So, you're kind of mentioning names, there's the skunk ape, that's Florida. I think the Cajuns call him the swamp ape. Ohio calls him the grass man. let's see, in the Ozarks in, what is that, Missouri? I think Falk, they call it the Falk monster. There's actually an old movie from, I think, 1972 called The Beast of Boggy Creek, or The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Mm-hmm.
You can get it on Amazon. I haven't bought it yet, but it was based on the true accounts of people that had been accosted by the Falk monster. There are tons of sightings on the Appalachian Trail. My buddy, he hiked the AT back in 2014, and he said that he heard sounds that he could not identify while he was out there sleeping for 6 months. I heard a sound one time. My buddy and I were setting up camp in the gorge, Red River Gorge, and something up on the hill let out this shrill, loud scream, and we both froze. And I just kind of went back to what I was doing, and then I didn't say anything. He didn't either, because he doesn't believe me. And it happened again, and I waited a second. I was like, "You want to tell me what that was?" He goes, "Nope." So, but then of course there's the Pacific Northwest, and that seems to me be the hot spot.
Mm.
You know, they've got, you know, all I can't even think of the main forests out there, but like through Oregon, Washington, and then up into Canada, you know, that's where Harry and Henderson's took place. Was it Oregon, Washington?
I think it was Oregon. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it seems to be one of the bigger hot spots. But like I said, you know, we in Ohio, they've got the Grassman. You know, he's got his own unique name. So yeah, I mean, there's enough sightings of this creature everywhere that, you know, one of the best phrases I've ever heard was, if we spent 1/10 of the energy on proving Bigfoot existed that we have spent proving that it doesn't exist, we would have already discovered it. You know, I know it sounds a little convoluted, but, you know, because it never comes out right. But if we just spent just a tiniest bit of energy to actually try to find out and put real effort into this, we would have already discovered them. And, you know, we have scientific classifications and everything. We'd have one in a zoo somewhere. I
don't understand why. So as a human race, we discover large mammals almost every year that we didn't know existed before. Why are people so against the idea of a Bigfoot?
I don't know, because the mountain gorilla wasn't officially discovered until the early 1900s, I believe. Because guys would come back from Africa and was like, "Dude, you're not going to believe what I saw." And everyone's like, "You're right. I don't believe you. That doesn't exist. You're lying to me." But then we found, you know, that the mountain gorilla then, and then like I think it's called the okapi. It's that looks kind of like an antelope gazelle, but it's got zebra stripes on its hindquarters.
Yes.
We discovered that in the 90s, I believe, because I seem to remember reading a little article as a kid. Yeah, so I don't get it.
They discovered a new species of deer in like the forests of Vietnam, I believe it was, and that was within our lifetime, like in like the 90s or even early 2000s. It might have been. It was like, and this was like a full size, like it was the size of a full grown deer. It was how big these things are. It's like, holy shit. Like, oh yeah, we had no idea they existed. Well, okay. So and they say, and the scientists say that there's like, that we've only discovered a small percentage of the actual amount of animals that are on this planet right now.
My thought on that, well, part of it is insects. I mean, we find insects every 5 minutes, you know, a new insect. But with the Bigfoot, you know, too many people do not go out into the country. They don't know how vast it is when, you know, you drive down a road for 10 minutes and you don't see anything that resembles that humans have ever been there except for the road. They haven't experienced that emptiness out there.
That's why I always say that people who say that overpopulation is a thing have never been out of the city.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous, Like, so, that's my thought there is that these people that have that sort of mentality have no idea about how much space there really is for something that big to be walking around, because they keep having it in their minds like, oh no, like we would have, we'd have one on video by now. Well, that's not really true. And we just got smartphones, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. I was still using a flip phone 5 years ago. So I just recently, when I got married, stopped using my burners, Hey,
I need a refill.
All right. Hi, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
I missed you.
I miss you too. Oh, man. Oh, big of my foot.
Shit, dude, he's getting a beer. I'm going to grab one too. I
was thinking the same thing. Let's all do it.
All right.
Edit this out.
All right.
All right.
Recharged.
Yep.
Refilled.
You're there, yes.
We said, oh, he's getting one. We're all getting one.
Yep.
We need to start talking about the gate.
Yes. Yeah, we can. Yeah, let's move on to that. Gait and proportions.
Yeah. You think that looking at Alex's background, you think it's possible that Bigfoot does have pet raccoons?
Well,
Is that what's happening there, or is there something more nefarious going on there?
I mean, looking at it from a scientific viewpoint, why not? If you I've heard that if you catch like a wild fox that's pregnant and then you take the babies and then you raise them in a domesticated environment and then you breed them with others that you've half domesticated, like you can domesticate a fox to a reasonable level in like 3 generations or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, foxes are beautiful.
Yeah.
Like they would be an amazing pet.
Oh, yeah.
If you could tame it. Yeah, we're talking about Bigfoot fucking raccoon behind you is what we're talking about.
That's the other thing is that he uses raccoon, kind of like that chimp fucking the frog.
Oh, I thought you were talking about domesticating Bigfoots. I was way off. I was like, are we going to domesticate one? Hell yeah.
I mean,
Harry and the Hendersons.
Exactly. Harry and the Hendersons. They kind of tamed him. They taught him to talk.
Do you think that honestly, like Bigfoot is an intelligent species, like maybe even more intelligent than we are?
That one, no, because I mean we have technology, right?
Who's to say that they don't have tech, or who's to say that technology makes you a more intelligent species? Maybe they're intelligent, but they are so more intelligent than we are that they know that technology will be the downfall of their species. So instead, they go to a more spiritual route instead of a technological route.
Then maybe that's. I had a thought there and it dropped out because I'm starting to get a buzz. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's why the government or people can't even stand the idea of a Bigfoot existing, is because it might take us to this idea of living off the land again. That like the Native Americans did. There's this really funny quote. It was like, we hunted all day, we fucked all night, we relaxed, like our lives were absolute, just simple and wonderful. And only a white man would think that he could fix that.
Right. Yeah.
So, maybe, being able to find that, I just cannot, it boggles my mind that people can still discredit the idea of Bigfoot even existing. And that might be one of the ideas, is that this thing is intelligent enough to live around us without us knowing.
Yeah. I personally, that's where I lean to more, is that they've got to be, I feel like they've got to be at least close to as intelligent as we are, if not surpassing us, just on a different level, like more of a spiritual level, to not be seen and to not be around and to not be caught on camera and all these other things. And, they have their own rituals that they do with their dead, so you never find their bodies and all those kinds of things. Also, other people sometimes think that, I've heard that maybe Bigfoot is actually from a parallel universe or dimension, and they only like come into our dimension every once in a while to visit and check it out and then go back.
I've heard that, and that is out of my field of expertise. So I think it's just an incredibly intelligent animal, from what I can speak to. I've had pretty minimal physics training, so I haven't had quantum physics where, you can actually rationalize parallel dimensions and such, but
right. That's what we talk about every episode on this show is quantum physics, parallel dimensions, string theory. We dive deep into that, balls deep into that shit. So one thing that you are an expert at, though, is gait. Yes. When it comes up. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So let me kind of give you a little bit of history on my specialty. I am a biomechanist. I'm actually, now I mentioned that I have my master's in biomechanics. I'm working on my PhD right now. And my specialty is amputee gait, but the laboratory that I'm at right now focuses on Down syndrome and cerebral palsy and other neurological disorders as far as gait is concerned. And just general movement disorders. We do upper body stuff too, but my specialty is human gait. Yes.
Now, looking at a human's gait and knowing that, looking at a man in a Bigfoot costume and walking, like there's been all these videos that have came out, especially like the old ones from the 70s and shit, where they're like, okay, this, and I've heard both sides of the story. Like some people are like, okay, that's definitely a guy in a gorilla costume. And other ones are like, that's definitely not a guy in a gorilla costume because of XYZ. What's your opinion on the matter?
It depends on the video. So humans have a very specific gait pattern, and we also have very specific body proportions. And part of my field is we use what's called inverse dynamics. And what that does is it allows us to basically use mechanical engineering properties on the human body to gauge what the torque would be at a joint, because we can't, to measure the actual force within a muscle it's basically impossible. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's an absolute pain in the ass. And you can get the same results by doing inverse dynamics. And what they've done is multiple cadaver studies, and like we know how much proportionally a foot weighs out of a person's body mass. So then you apply from the foot to the shank to the thigh, and you can tell what the torques are at the ankle, the knee, and the hip. And this kind of, on a clinical or medical side of this is how we analyze for like osteoarthritis or other disorders that are going to develop from an improper gait pattern, because we are designed to walk a specific way. And it is obscenely complicated to walk. For human walking is the most complicated thing I've ever seen.
Really?
It's absolutely ridiculous, because you have this muscle firing to move the limb, and then you have an antagonist muscle moving to stop the limb from moving too fast. And then you have just gravity and pendulum effects acting. You have the ground reaction force causing your leg to move in a certain way, either correctly or incorrectly, depending on, if you have a disability or not. But the point of all this is that human beings move in a very specific way. And the best example that I can give is the Patterson-Gimlin film. You were kind of alluding to that. That's the really famous one of the female Bigfoot.
Right.
That was shot in, I think it's Northern California.
Right.
And, one of the guys, he died like not too many years after, I believe. But the other one, I think it was Patterson that lived. Whichever one, that's not important. He tried to say, because I think he wanted people to quit talking to him about it. He's like, no, that was me. I was in a gorilla suit. Well, for one, everybody, even people that don't believe Bigfoot exists, will probably acknowledge that we couldn't make a gorilla suit that good in 1972.
Right.
So in that video, I've actually seen other people do a biomechanical analysis on it that basically say that no human being cannot move this way. And also they measure the proportions in the forearms, because, the forearm should be here and the upper arm, they should be about this length, and it's wrong. The arm is basically too long for what the body is. But the easiest one to spot in a Bigfoot walking video is the knee flexion angle. So in a normal human being, when you toe off with your leg that's getting ready to go into swing, your leg is straight when your toe comes off the ground, basically.
Right.
And then when you move your leg forward, it pendulums into a 90-degree. It's not even 90 degrees. It pendulums to a smaller degree, but that doesn't happen until your feet are next to each other. That's the maximum flexion angle that happens during gait. In a Bigfoot gait video, especially, it's shown in the Patterson-Gimlin film, and I've seen other films where somebody caught, that, of course, it's grainy and blurry, but whatever. You can see that when they walk, what they do is they flex their knee almost entirely before even swinging it forward. And I mean, if you get up and try to walk around the room and do this, you can't do it. I mean, you can kind of make it look right, but you're not going to be able to replicate that while you're walking in a heavy gorilla suit out in the woods, trying not to fall and kill yourself as you run up a hill.
Right. One of the arguments I seen against that was because they had a large foot prosthetic thing on their foot. Like the reason they lifted their leg up back behind them before they came forward was to cover that because they had this big oversized foot thing over their foot to cover that distance of moving forward. Like, would that
sense? because no matter what, your stride is going to be a maximum distance.
Right.
Okay. So mechanically, if you're trying to raise a heavy weight on your ankle, you're not going to do a full lever backwards because that's more work. You're going to pick it up and hike your hip and move forward. That's how an amputee walks, because a prosthetic leg, for one, has no muscles, and two, it has weight that's being moved by muscles that weren't meant to move in that way.
Right. Well, there we go.
It makes no sense.
There we go.
What about someone that would be, just play devil's advocate, like someone that might be like double jointed or something like that? Would that be a causality for that to happen or anything, or would it still be the same?
Because
you know how like some people have those like weird knees when they stand and they like pop outwards and crap like that.
I mean, that's going to be either joint laxity, or that's going to be like, are you talking outwards, like moving, like basically the knee bends backwards when they're standing?
Well, yeah, that was just kind of like a rough example. Someone that double jointed, that something like that might be able to do that. But obviously it would be very rare and very specific. So the likelihood that even happen is next to none anyway. But I was just kind of, since, this is kind of like, your realm of expertise, I was just kind of curious.
Yeah. Like somebody who rides a horse for too long, or a person who like has sex for too long, and they're bow-legged.
Right. Even then, it still makes no sense for that knee to come back into that 90-degree flexion angle before swing. It mechanically makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And you talk about like joint laxity, or the knee deforming under weight, like when you're in stance phase.
Yeah.
Because like one of the most common ones is knee valgus, where the knee kind of buckles inward, where like knock knees is the idea.
Yeah.
Well, that only happens during stance. Not during swing phase. So that deformity, that's going to be, that's not really going to apply when they're in their swing phase. And a thought that I've had, and this is why I kind of mentioned, okay, what if somebody knows that a Bigfoot, that some experts say that a Bigfoot walks this way and they want to make a really authentic video? I challenge you both after the video is over to find a video that really, the Patterson Gimlin, you can see it well enough in a couple of shots, but to try and walk by like basically picking your toes up off the ground, flexing your knee backwards, and then swinging forward and planting your foot.
Another thing that I saw, which I don't know if it's in your wheelhouse or not, but with that video specifically, they said that they could actually see in the video the muscle tone and the flexing of the muscles as the female Bigfoot was walking.
She had a ruptured quadricep on her right leg.
Wow.
I've seen that in an analysis video, and you can see the muscle knot up really bad on, I think, like the lateral side of her quad, up towards the proximal end.
Oh, that sounds like it hurts just thinking about it.
That's probably why she wasn't running away.
Yeah.
Previous injury led to that deformity, because I had a friend in high school who had a ruptured quad, and it's pretty gross looking. Yeah.
I don't know if you all have ever seen those weightlifting videos where those dudes will be lifting something stupid and you just watch it snap, like whether it's a bicep or an ab muscle or just like a quad or
There's one recently where dude was incline pressing and it snapped his quad, or snapped his pec off.
Oh, and it's got to be the most painful thing, especially with all that weight. Because I swear I saw that video you're talking about, because that guy, like, he almost looked like he had a seizure, because he was like gyrating his whole body, not because of like, that's what it was he was in such pain, but he didn't know how to get the weight off of him.
Right.
Like it was like a moment of sheer panic.
Right.
He was like, get this fucking thing off of me. And then
yeah.
Instagram. But yeah,
dude. So that was the muscles was the thing that kind of got me on that video, was like Well, shit, they can see the muscle tone in this thing. It's definitely not somebody in a fucking monkey suit.
Right.
And who makes monkey suits with tits?
Exactly. Yeah, you can if they enhance the images, you can see she's got a pair.
Well,
Yeah.
Fucking
Mike, there's some websites out there I can lean you towards. I guarantee you they will make you a Bigfoot costume with a nice set of tits on it, man.
Oh my god. Rule 34, if it exists, there's porn of it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Bigfoot erotica, Zach?
No, but I'm not shocked.
Which I've got to be honest, we've never actually addressed this since we did this, but we had a bet last year.
Yes, we did.
Who could lose the most weight, right? But when we made this is because one episode we went out on the internet and found and read a couple of fan fiction Bigfoot erotica, which they are as horrifying as you can think of.
Yeah.
It started making me blush after a while, and I'm not that guy. But our bet was we did a weight loss challenge. Who could lose the most weight for last year? And I know Mike won for sure. And the loser now has to read the other one's Bigfoot erotica.
Oh, I like it.
Which is me. I've got to read his Bigfoot erotica that he's going to write. And not just on here. You got to do it at an open mic night at a comedy club.
Which I will actually drive north for this.
I don't know what city you resign in, but
Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta? Oh, okay, then totally.
I'm coming.
You said Lexington earlier. I was like, I mean, if you're in Lexington, I know the comedy club up there. So yeah.
I can get to Lexington in 5 hours, Northern Kentucky in 6. So I'm coming. When it is, I'll be there.
So I've got a 5 to 10 minute Bigfoot erotica to read.
Yes, you do.
I think we definitely need to record that for the podcast. And if I can find a Bigfoot costume, fuck it, let's go all in.
There you go. we can analyze that and see the muscle tone in
it. I'll make sure I have a nice set of jugs. But
more cheaters that way.
But I was actually going to ask you a question earlier. Now, it just popped in my head. Now, all these sightings and all these different kind of videos and stuff like that, like, you know, we were talking about how it is kind of rare for people to see Bigfoot. I was going to ask, like, now, do you think that it is obviously a species, but do you think it's a vast, or do you think it's like a traveling group, like a little tribe that kind of migrates, or do you think it's just each area has its own select few and they just kind of stay undertone?
So, you know, I heard that my big responses were in March that year. There is a theory that the ones on the eastern side of the states use the Appalachian Trail because it's an established trail that would take them from a colder climate to a warmer climate.
Yeah.
I would be keen to believe that there is a difference between West Coast and East Coast. I would say that it wouldn't strike me as if they were extremely solitary. You might have a family group of like a mother and children. And, you know, I don't want to speculate as to whether or not, you know, they're like a pair bond with a mother and father. That part I can't make any comment on.
Yeah, it could be closer to humans, like a bear, because, you know, like, you know, mother bear takes on, father bear just does his deed, he's off.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas a lion, you know, the male sticks around to protect the cubs to ensure that his bloodline goes on.
Yeah.
So that part, I have no answer on that.
Yeah.
On whether they stay as a family unit. I say we have units that move on the East Coast up and down. through the Appalachians. And then I would be keen to believe that the ones on the West Coast maybe do the same, but stay probably a little more north where, there's more forest.
Yeah.
Because as an intelligent creature, it is trying to avoid our contact. I mean, I meant to kind of mention this earlier with gorillas. You have to hire a specific guide to take you into the mountains and show you where they hide. You can't just go wandering out into the mountains of Africa and, there's a chance you're going to find a troop, but people hire specific guides to take them into the mountains and find mountain gorillas. So we don't have that here.
Well, no, because they think that they don't exist.
Well, Native Americans also will, if you watch as many specials as I have, they won't do it. They will not take you to the mountain where the hairy men live. That I think it's a phrase that's used out on the West Coast. They won't do it.
Really? They're 100% in on this.
Some tribes.
Yeah. You think that they have you think that they have issues like we do as far as keeping a guy around? You think they have deadbeat dads?
I mean, if they have a pair bond, I'm sure it happens.
I bet they're more like the lions, though. I would have to, if I had to guess, I would guess that Bigfoot is more like the lions. One of my favorite videos that it might even be like a GIF even because it's very short, but it's like this female lion and she's watching these gazelles go jumping by, and it says the woman shopping, and it's like boom, 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 and then boom, boom, and she's just watching one go by, another go by, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, the male lion just dives past her and just tackles this gazelle and like takes it out, and it's like the male shopping.
Which is odd because male lions typically don't do the hunting.
Right, because he was so pissed. He's like, "You're taking too long. What are you doing? Just pick something already."
What do you want to eat?
I saw something really good recently. I haven't got to try it yet, though. It was tell her to guess where you're going to take her to eat, and then take her on her first guess.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, "This guy solved the fucking conundrum. He solved the riddle."
That's great, man.
So try it.
No, because my wife, I know her. She'd be like, "You ain't taking me nowhere. I already know. I already know. You're making me cook." I'm like, you're right.
You got out of having to go to dinner then.
I feel like I might have tried that. Like, I think I saw that video. I think I tried that one time on my wife, and she just went, "I don't know." And I'm just like, you're killing me, Smalls.
All right, Alex.
Yeah.
Do you think that Bigfoot exists?
Yes.
Zach, we know you think Bigfoot exists.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that Bigfoot exists.
You had an experience that I don't know about?
Did I have an experience that you don't know about?
Yeah, or that I can't remember.
I know he's got a family member that did, which is one of my favorite stories.
Yes. Yes, I do. And actually, Zach, I don't know if you've ever heard this story before. So you're in for a treat, and I apologize to the listeners who have listened to this podcast from the very beginning, because you've heard this maybe more than once.
You'll love it to hear it again.
Yeah. So I have a uncle-in-law, technically, who lives down around the Hazard, Kentucky area, and there's a lake out in that yonder that they call Bigfoot Lake. And I don't remember the actual name of the lake. I know it's beautiful. I went out there once and it is absolutely gorgeous. But it's about 30 minutes outside of Hazard to the west of Hazard, if I remember right. Regardless, he was at a family function one day and started telling this story about how him and his buddy went fishing out on Bigfoot Lake, and they're casting lures out towards the shore, and all of a sudden a rock comes flying at their boat, and they look over to the shoreline, and he says there's 13 Bigfoot standing on the shore throwing rocks at our boat trying to sink our boat.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he said it was a whole family unit. There was older ones, younger ones, like baby ones, and they're all picking up rocks off the shore, whipping them at their boat, throwing them at the boat. And so they like had one of those little power motors on the back of like a John boat, and they lit that sucker up and took off out of there. And my brother, we're all sitting at this family get together listening to him tell the story. He's like, how you know there's 13 Bigfoot trying to, like, you had time to sit there count? And this guy's like, when there's 13 Bigfoot trying to sink, you know there's fucking 13 Bigfoot out there trying to sink your boat. Dude, he had us rolling. But yeah, that was his story, man. He said that there was a whole family unit of Bigfoot on the shore, and he swore up and down by it. Like, this is a factual thing that happened to him. And if had they not got out of there when they did, they probably would have took them out.
Well, I know two stories from the same guy that came from that area. One, he said he was like a younger kid and he was wandering around in the woods and he saw a giant green man. And he said everybody just fucking teased him about it and said, oh, yeah, you saw the jolly green giant.
Yeah.
Well, that one's not as good. Well, there's another story that comes from a guy that we knew. But anyways, the other one said he was at a family function. And, you know, down in the mountains like that, everybody's got a fucking gun on them all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So he said that everybody's out in the backyard, they're cooking out, they're doing what they're doing, and something up on the hill, there was forest behind them. Something up on the hill let out one of these roars that I've talked about. Nice choice on that, by the way.
Thank you.
That's a good one. But something let out this roar. He said the entire family drew their guns and just lit the forest up, dumped every round that they had on them.
Hell yes.
I like this family.
So everybody runs out of ammo. All the men go in the house and get the rifles, reload, and go out on a hunt. They found a blood trail.
Oh, really?
And the blood trail eventually led to like a creek or a river or something like that, and they lost it. But yeah, they had a blood trail. But you know, I'm sure at the time nobody thought, hey, let's collect some of this and get it analyzed somewhere. But even then, when you do these analyses, there's nothing to compare it to. It's just, well, it's not a deer, it's not a bear. We
right.
don't have the DNA to compare it and say, oh no, that's a Bigfoot.
Dude, they lit that shit up like a fucking scene out of Predator.
Contact! Yes. Yeah. And then that same guy told another one, said they'd gone out to his cousin's cabin, which was, they said they had to park at the main road and walk because nothing short of like a lifted 4-wheel drive would get all the way out there. And they were all out there blazing up for days. And one dude kind of went stir crazy. And Mike told him, he's like, look, I'm leaving. I will come back and get you all on Friday afternoon at 3:00 or something like that. He's like, I'm just going to go stay at a hotel for the next 2 days or, whatever it was. Those details aren't important. So he went and went to walk back to the truck, and he was gone for hours. I mean, that's how far out this cabin was. Or maybe an hour, doesn't matter. He'd been gone for a fucking while, and they were all sitting out on the front porch, drinking and smoking and hanging out. And all of a sudden, I seen Mike come running up the hill, up along the road, full sprint, nonstop. Said he was pale as a fucking ghost when he got back, and absolutely would not tell them what he had seen. My assumption, and that guy that told me the story, we assumed it was Bigfoot.
Could have been a banshee.
Ireland.
They were in Ireland?
That's where it comes from. The keening of the banshee. It's actually just a singing at death. The keening, and they supposedly, if you could hear the keening of a banshee on the wind, it was the portent of someone dying. Kind of like a bird flying in the house, like in The Raven by Poe.
Maybe it was a Wendigo.
In the north.
You're killing me here. It was a siren.
Chupacabra.
There you go. I've met people that claim to have seen Chupacabra as well.
Yeah.
It's just a malnourished dog that's lost its hair.
It was just a starving Bigfoot.
What about the lizard ones? The ones that look more lizard-like, have like the spines and shit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, I want to see one of those.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of artwork, but yeah, that's no, thank you.
I saw a cat. Alex, did I tell you about the cat and the squirrel on the podcast?
No.
Dude, this was outrageous. I've never seen this in my life. I'm sitting in my work truck, parked on the side of the road, eating lunch, and I'm just chilling, looking out my front windshield, and I see this squirrel come down off this tree, and he's about to run across the road. And right as he's like coming up the sidewalk, about to run across the road, this big ass fucking tabby cat lunges out from this bush onto the fucking sidewalk, takes out this squirrel, and then just goes fucking lollygagging back into the backyards of this fucking house with this big ass squirrel hanging from its mouth. I'm like, holy fuck, I've never seen that in my life, dude. This cat took out this squirrel like it was nothing in like one just moment.
Ambush predator.
Yeah, cats are vicious, man. I watched one grab a chipmunk one time and just sat there and fucked with it for like 30 minutes.
Yes.
He'll let it like run off, and then he'll like let it just get barely enough away where it has hope that it's going to make it, then jump back and slap the shit out of it and just like, nah, bitch, you mine, and then do it all over again. He just sits there and fucks with it.
Yep.
They're fucking evil, man.
Yeah. Cats are fucking hateful like that. I've seen
now picture a fucking mountain lion or some crazy shit like that.
I have seen a mountain lion in Kentucky. It was out in Western Kentucky.
For real?
I had been fishing out at Craven's Bay in Lamatoon Lakes. You know where that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so my family is from Lamatoon Lakes before TVA bought it out and kicked everybody out. And if you go down towards Craven's Bay, you go past the turnoff for Craven's Bay, and it'll go straight into either Edible Ferry, or you can turn left to Katawa Landing. And my granddaddy's store used to be at that intersection, and then their house was up on the hill behind it. So anyways, I'd gone down to Katawa Landing, and I fished until 1, 2 in the morning, and I was cruising back. I had an Evo back then, had a moonroof on it. Moonroof was open. It was a beautiful night. It was probably, this would have been August or September of 2008. And I'm cruising back through there, and I didn't get a mile from where I had been fishing off of the edge of a small cliff in the total fucking darkness, no flashlight, nothing.
Yeah. Why would you?
Yeah. And on my life, I saw a mountain lion jump across the front of my car. My background's kind of fucking it up there.
Yeah.
This thing was so close. I could see the fibers in the muscle on the I guess the bicep and forearm.
Whew.
I could see the spots in the armpit.
Yeah.
This thing cleared the road in one jump, and I reached up and closed the fucking moonroof in case there was a second one.
This happened to land in the car.
Well, that's how Hunter S. Thompson met his wife.
No shit.
Through the mountains of California, and a mountain lion landed in the back seat of his convertible, and he turned around and just dumped a cylinder out of his revolver into it, blew the thing away, pulled into a gas station to drag the carcass out, and his wife was like a waitress or a gas station attendant at the station there, and that's how they met.
I mean, that's some what is it? BDE, some big dick energy for sure. Like, I just killed this mountain lion. Like dragging it, like I just killed this thing. I mean, whatever. Jumped in the car. Yeah, hey, what's up? What's your name? No, but that's insane. Dude, shit, man.
BDE? That's a thing?
Yeah, dude. You don't know
I love it.
I think there's nothing more alpha than that.
No, dude, that's exactly what it is. There's
maybe if he killed it with literally his bare hands, but that's splitting hairs.
Yeah. Yeah, just walking like, yeah, so I just saved this orphanage from this this mountain lion, killed it with my bare hands. I'm really thirsty. If you could give me a beer or something. That's wild. You know, it's crazy. It's funny you say that. I never thought I'd see a mountain lion here. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself in my own head. I never I always know there are bobcats around, and I never, don't get me wrong, I got family that lives out in the woods, the hills. I've always go play out there when I was a kid. Never saw a bobcat save my life, but I know they're around here. Just recently on my farm, actually, my cousin set up a bunch of those cameras because he goes hunting out there because he's the only one we'll trust to go out hunting. Plus, whatever he kills, he gives us half or a quarter of the meat.
Nice.
And he caught a couple bobcats out there. I'm like, holy shit. It's like, I never even thought I'd see those. I never see those things out in real life. Granted, it was 2 or 3 in the morning and yada, yada, yada. But
that same area, my granddaddy had taken the trash up from the campground, and a bobcat had hopped out of the dumpster and took off in the woods.
Nice.
Yeah. And people have said oh, you sure there wasn't a bobcat? I'm like, well, bobcat's covered in spots. This had spots in the armpit, basically, and it was gold everywhere else. So.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it was. Now
I wanted to ask, have you heard about black mountain lions?
No.
They're cryptid. Science says they don't exist, and there are lots of sightings of them, especially in eastern United States.
Like a black leopard, like a black panther.
There's a lot of question as to what it is, if assuming they're real, and it's one of those things that, to me, if there's enough sightings of it, you're seeing something.
Right.
People say it's a black mountain lion because I guess we have mountain lions. Other people say if you're seeing one, it's probably an escaped black panther or black leopard. But yeah, there are sightings of those too. So,
I mean, what if an escaped black? I don't know. I would assume they could do this, but let's say a black panther got out of a zoo somewhere, wandered off into the woods, got with a couple mountain lions, especially if it was a male,
right?
Had a bunch of kids. Now you got a bunch of random, intertwined genetics essentially now floating around the Appalachian Trail or wherever it would be.
Would black panthers even be compatible with American mountain lions?
I don't know. That goes a bit beyond my biological knowledge.
Yeah.
They say that it is technically possible for a mountain lion to come out as black, but it is 1 in 100 out of every 100 generations. So you're not going to have enough of a population for there to be as many sightings as there are.
Yeah. Maybe they're evolving. But I mean, obviously the fucking random Black Panther missing, like that would be obscure. But I mean, you never know. I mean, they made lions and tigers that would have never had it.
Dude,
donkeys, or was it mules?
Remember there was half a dozen. There was half a dozen random ass monkeys loose in downtown Cincinnati.
Oh, I meant to bring that and send that to you. Like, what the hell's going on in your city, man?
Yes, they're just out, and apparently they came from like Zach just said, a private collection. They got out, and they just fucking are gone now. They can't find them. They're out and about, running around wild.
Yep, don't feed them.
I set a big thing of bananas out on my back deck. Please come. Please come to my house.
Yeah, no kidding.
You'll be our next guest on the podcast.
Oh, that'd be great.
And next on Soberless Thoughts, the random monkeys that escaped in Cincinnati.
You got to think they're like experts at hiding and sneaking around and things like that. I mean, monkeys are, you're talking about that cat murdering that squirrel. Monkeys are just as crazy and vicious.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a couple years ago, somebody spotted a mountain lion in like Independence just wandering through a fucking neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Dude, my grandfather had a pet mountain lion.
Nice.
In his backyard, in a like caged in enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Mikey, actually. But they would the local police and shit would bring like deer that were recently hit on the road over to his house to drop it off, and he would walk right into the fucking enclosure with this thing with a big ass deer on his shoulders and throw it on the ground like, there you go, Mikey, have at it, and then walk out like
covered in deer blood.
Yeah.
Well, Mom told me before I was born, they lived in Oklahoma. That's where I was. I was actually born in Muskogee. But they told me that they drove past a like a trailer park or something once, and there was a sign out front that said "Blind Lion for Sale," and some old woman had a blind African lion that she had as a pet that I guess just stayed chained up to the porch or something, and like my mom was begging my dad to buy it from her. Like,
wow.
No. Either one of those, like big cats scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Dude, listen to this. The craziest shit I ever seen a cat do. I was at one of my friend's houses, and he had a cat and a pit bull. Okay, those were his two pets. And we're sitting on the couch, and I see the cat like go around, and he like posts up like on the side of the coffee table, and he's like just chilling like back behind there. And I look at my friend and I'm like, what's your cat doing? And he starts laughing, and he's like, he's waiting for the fucking dog to come out here and he's going to get him. I'm like, no way. I'm like, you got this big ass fucking muscular, like badass looking pit bull. Like that cat ain't going to do nothing to that dog. He's like, watch. He's like, just sit here and watch, dude. Here, get another beer. Enjoy the show. Right. And sure enough, dude, he fucking, and actually it was taking too long. So he whistled for the dog. He's fucking in on the fucking culprit too. Right. So he whistles for the dog, and this poor dog comes running in like, what's up, daddy? Comes running into the living room. And this cat's hiding behind this fucking coffee table. And as soon as it comes around the corner, like lunges at this dog. And this dog flipped the fuck out. And he's like, and just takes off running full speed the opposite direction. And the cat goes chasing after it. And like the next 20 minutes, I'm watching this tiny little cat chase this massive pit bull around this house. I'm like, holy fuck, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Cats are fucking. They're evil. I mean, that dog has probably had his ass kicked by that cat for years. Like traumatized just by its presence.
Well, he told me that he had to have the cat declawed because it was like ripping the pipple up.
Mm-hmm.
So they got him declawed, and now he said that he would just box him, and he'd just like punch him in the face and stuff.
Yep.
And it wouldn't like break the skin or anything, but it still scared the shit out of the dog.
Oh, yeah. The cats are evil, man.
Oh yeah. Cats suck. That's a Soberless Thoughts. That's our stance on cats. Alex, do you agree with this?
I mean, I like cats, but I'm not a cat person by any means. I do know that I have seen some crazy videos. There's one that always sticks out in my head where it was like some guy, you could tell it was like some crappy apartment, and whatever, this cat just looked at this dude and just went and just like went nuts and just attacked this guy, and he like somehow got out of this apartment, and this cat is like ripping off the screen trying to get out, and finally rips like its way out of the actual apartment, and then just starts running down the street at this guy. I don't know what the guy did, but that cat was gonna fuck him up.
You know what's fucked up is he may have just looked at the cat funny, and the cat got mad. It's like, all right, yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah. They're like the moodiest animal, and like, I just.
Listen to this. Here, I have another story. My dad has a pellet gun, BB gun, that he keeps under his couch in his living room, and he'll use it to shoot at like deer and shit like that are trying to get into his garden in his backyard.
Okay.
So there was this big ass cat in his backyard that was trying to get into something in his garden. And he's like, I'm going to shoot that cat with my BB gun, right? So he goes out, opens the back door, grabs his BB gun, and pop, shots that. He shot the cat right in the ass with the BB gun. He said the cat just turned around and looked at him and then walked into the woods. Like, okay. He said the very next morning, he goes to leave to go to work, and the cat's sitting on the front porch waiting for him. He says he opens the screen door, and he looks down and he sees the cat sitting there. And as soon as he goes to open the screen door, he like comes up and hisses at him. And he's like, oh, fuck. And he like shuts the door, and it's just sitting on the front porch. And then so he had to go out the garage, out the side door to go to work. And for a month, dude, a fucking month, this cat sat on the front porch every morning waiting for my dad to come out to get its fucking revenge, man.
Oh my god! If you'd have set a trap or something like that, you know, after the first day, I'm like, nah, I ain't fucking dealing with this. Live catch, maybe a kill trap. I don't know. All that.
That's funny you said that. My dad has a a weird little story where my parents were first dating, like in the beginning. My dad had a cat named Bert, and it was basically some cat that they found that he thought was a boy cat, so they named it Bert, and it found out it was a girl, and so he still, he still called it Bert. So basically, my mom, like in their like early years, they
how do you not know what the gender of the cat is?
I didn't with my cat, actually.
Yeah, it was one of those where like you would have to almost like know what you're like. It wasn't like there was something hanging that you could look at. It was one of those that was like, so there's certain ones where like you gotta like almost, if you almost have to cut into it to like either neuter it or spade it to figure out like what it is, right?
Yeah.
So apparently this cat hated my mom, and my mom was like, yeah, every time I'd go over to your dad's house, this cat would hide underneath furniture, and then all of a sudden I'd walk by and I'd just feel a claw come out of nowhere and just snag me on the back of the leg, like, gotcha, you're in my house, right?
Right.
Well, my dad like went on some kind of trip where like he had to do something for work and he was out of town. Well, my mom was like, "Do you care if I go sit at your apartment and study?" Because she was studying like be a nurse at the time. And my dad was like, "Yeah. Go ahead, use my apartment, and just do whatever you gotta do." And apparently, Bert and my dad would sleep in the bed together, right? Well, my mom went there, did her study, and was like, "All right, I'm going to go to sleep," and then shut the door to my dad's bedroom because she didn't want Bert coming in there and fucking with her while she was asleep.
Right.
So she's like, no, you're staying out here. The next morning, she goes, I open the door. There is a huge pile of shit right in front of the door, just to say, you fucked up. This is my house, and here's my proof.
My mom's cat pees on my dad's clothes and shoes often, and he's marking his territory because he can't stand it. Like if I were to go and sit next to my mom on the couch, or my dad does it, the cat just gets like violently angry. Like it does exactly. It just sits there and just fucking stares at you like, get out of my spot.
Yeah. I do know this about cats. Like you always hear about people like with cats, like the cat will bring like a dead animal to your doorstep or something like that. That's like them going, I don't think you can feed yourself. So I'm giving this to you because I think you're so stupid. You don't know how to survive, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're a shitty hunter. Here's some food.
Yeah. Basically like you're a terrible animal. Like if I had a cat and one brought, I'm like, listen, all right, look, come in here, you condescending asshole. Stop bringing me dead random animals. Look at this fridge. It's full.
Right.
I had a dog do that once. I had a pet pit bull.
Yeah.
Named Jack, actually, who the way I had this apartment, I had a bottom floor apartment, and I would leave the sliding glass doors out the back open, and I had a really long chain to where he could come all the way into the living room and kitchen with his chain on, or go like way out into the field back behind the apartments with his chain on. So I'd leave the door wide open. He had free roam with his chain on, right? And so I got home from work one day, went, put him on his chain, left the door open, went and got in the shower. I come out of the shower and I open the bathroom door, and all I see is like feathers just flying into the air in the living room. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I go running out into the living room, and he had caught a bird somehow and brought it into the living room and was like defeathering it basically in my living room, just ripping it apart. I'm like, holy fuck, dude.
My parents' dogs have a knack for knocking baby birds out of their nest, fucking with them, and then killing them. They also like to dig up moles. So, same thing. Yeah.
Watching dogs go after moles is actually kind of funny. Because they like stick their like nose right in the dirt, and they start to like scratch a little bit, and then all of a sudden, like my dog did that actually at our in-laws' house, where she would sit there and like scratch and smell, and then all of a sudden she'd get real still, and then she like raise her whole body up and like pounce, trying to knock out the mole in the ground. I'm like, that's wild. She knows how to do that just instinctively. Like I've got a technique to kill this animal.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like those escaped monkeys there in Cincinnati. Like, it's all built in to go and fucking hide everywhere,
Yeah.
How to find some kind of food.
So bringing this all back around to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Is Bigfoot part of the cat species or dog species or ape species?
Primate.
It has to be a primate.
Primates are the only ones that use sticks for wood knocking. They're the only ones that throw rocks. We're the only ones that walk on two legs because, you can still see like a gorilla stand up on two legs and kind of walk around at that as enclosure. So, yeah. And then the level of intelligence, that's a primate.
It's a primate from another dimension, I say.
In quantum mechanics, anything is possible.
That is true.
Literally.
Literally.
So yeah,
All right, Zach, before we get out of here, anything else you want to talk about Bigfoot related?
let's see. I've told my stories. I've told the one about or the two from one of my friends. Well, we've talked about the biomechanics and the body proportions that just don't match up to human beings, and I want to see somebody find one. I don't want to see one killed unless it's in absolute defense. That is something I can comment on, is that video that I've seen. It was in Survivor Man. He did this little series where he actually went out looking for Bigfoot. He had 2 encounters that he's talked about that were mind blowing. Basically, one of them came right up on his camp in the dark and let out a roar, and he about shit himself. But anyways, this other video, this guy was being swarmed by 4 or 5 of them. He had a flare in one hand and he had his camera in the other, and the terror that was in this guy's voice, was just crazy. Because what would happen was he would be shooing one away in front of him with the flare, and one of them would come up behind him and touch him, and they would just touch him just to show kind of like a cat fucking with a mouse.
Yeah.
I can get you. I can get you over and over. I don't want to see one killed, but I do want some kind of DNA collected. We can collect hair and blood, and that leaves the animal as it is. But if it came down to it, I'm going to pull the trigger on one if I think I'm going to die.
Yeah, I'm going to have a full on Predator moment where I light the whole motherfucking woods up with every ounce of ammo I have. Just when I hear the roar, I think.
Also, side note, we on one of our first episodes, we talked about Bigfoot. We talked about a great tattoo idea, which would be a Bigfoot predator. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. Predator and Harry from Harry and the Hendersons, the same guy.
No shit.
Seriously,
Really?
If you watch when the Predator is kind of leaping across some of the creek bed, you can actually see it's the exact same gait pattern as the guy in the Harry costume when he would make big bounds. It was Kevin Peter Hall, I think is his name. He's been dead for a long time. But yeah, the original Predator and Harry from Harry and the Hendersons is the same actor in the suits.
Holy shit, that was way more layered than I intended. That's awesome. I did not know that. That is good information.
So you think of Bigfoot with the full Predator mask on and
hell to the yeah. Even if the mouth just all of a sudden did that weird crab thing, it was and just snap back. I was gonna say before we get out of here, I've got to ask you this, just since you're a Bigfoot guy. Have you heard? Now, are you a Star Wars guy at all?
Oh yeah,
into it.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard the Bigfoot theory, the fan fiction, if you will, about Star Wars?
No, but I see where this is going.
So essentially, what happens is we have Han Solo and Chewie get sucked into a black hole, and they get spat out here on Earth, right? And it's 500 years ago, or some kind of timeline like that, and they land. They hide the ship, and then Han Solo becomes a bounty hunter or something like that. It was in the Wild Wild West or something like that. Not with Will Smith. But so he does that, but they're stranded here and they can't leave. So then Han Solo just lives out his life. Well, after he passes away, he's so Chewie's so sad. He just goes wanders out in the woods. And then, Wookiees have such a long lifespan. Years later, in the 90s, someone sees Chewie wandering out in the woods, holy shit, what is that? And boom, there's your Bigfoot picture.
Well, let's use that just back as a regular example. In so the Patterson Gimlin was in 72 and Star Wars was in 75 or 77. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So 5 years of difference there, and Chewie's costume, it's a costume.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. That was a good full circle for sure. Kudos on that one. But yeah,
was
totally.
Chewie into humanoid women though?
I mean, you get desperate.
Was he one of the was there a love triangle between Chewie and Han Solo and Prince's, was he part of the mix there in the love triangle?
I mean, I don't think so. I don't know for sure. I mean, maybe he was like the best friend that was in love with the girl kind of thing. If you want to go to like a rom-com movie about
there might be Chewie and Princess Leia fan fiction out there somewhere.
Might be.
Yeah.
Might be.
Yeah, I guarantee you there's something called erotic fan art out there with it.
Guarantee it.
Yeah. You thought Bigfoot erotica was weird. That was just the written word. Now you're going to see videos and pictures of it.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah, there's probably proper porn, like even high quality porn of Chewie fucking Leia.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. I could bet money on it.
Well, I was just trying to think of how like the species has evolved on Earth from Chewie to like now full on different family units of Bigfoots running around in different areas. He's like the Noah of the Bigfoots.
I mean, there is the land bridge theory that, they came across on the western side, but that's a different take.
Yeah. And he's a cousin of the abominable snowman.
Basically.
Yeah.
Nice.
Of course.
And I think they found like some canoes or small boats or large boats. I'm not really sure. I didn't read the article well enough. In recent history, they were thinking that humans actually came across the Pacific Ocean, not the land bridge between Russia and Alaska.
Yeah.
They carbon dated these boats and so on and said no, that happened before we could have came across the land bridge, and nothing else here that we know of would have had a boat.
Right. Dude, ancient civilizations, man. We've been talking about this on the podcast since day one, man.
We're hitting all the topics this episode.
They exist.
Yeah, for sure.
100%. Final question, not Alex, but actually, yeah, for both of you guys, and I'll probably answer it too because I'm like that. Zach first, would you have sex with a female Bigfoot?
Well, we were talking about this the other day. One of my old buddies, actually Crazy Dave, I've talked about a little bit. He asked a question one time. He's like, so if you just found yourself on the Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton one where Helena Bonham Carter, looks like an ape and, she's actually kind of attractive as an ape. And then there's that weird, lingerie ape scene where the humans are running, whatever. He's like, would you fuck an ape? Would you fuck one of them? And Adam's like, no. I just couldn't fucking do it. And, Dave responded, I could probably warm up to the idea. And I was like, no. I know I'm stuck here. I'm going straight to the monkey whorehouse with a crate of bananas. Like, fucking make it deal. I'm getting some.
Nice. Might
as well get used to the idea. So, if there's a Sasquatch whorehouse and that's my only option, yes, but that's that's the key phrase. Literally the only option. Yeah. But I don't know if she's, she's kind of coming on to me a little bit, and she's dancing around the fire a little, and she's got that nice wiggle in her hips, and I'll get a handful of hair, and
Well, this is what I'm thinking, Zach. I'm thinking you're going hiking on the Appalachian Trail. Okay, you're out on your tent. It's late at night. Your fire's dimming down, and all of a sudden, Lady Bigfoot shows up in your camp.
Oh, I'm probably just going to shit myself and.
No, but she seduces you.
Oh no! I know I can get some tail the next night. So
she starts doing the whole like wiggling back and forth in the firelight like you were just talking about.
I'll appreciate it, but I've been told like being on the Appalachian Trail is nothing but like a fuck party, or can be anyways. So no, not the only option. So that doesn't fulfill the Planet of the Apes requirement. So that's
dude, she will kill you if you turn her down. You know that she's a fucking Bigfoot.
Now you've changed the game because now it's my only option. It's die or fuck a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But then I have to continue just fucking Bigfoots because that's a pretty hard line right there. It's like, well, all right, I'm done with human women. Let me go find Bigfoot women.
So then you just be celibate for the rest of your life trying to find another Bigfoot woman.
Yeah.
Or I'll just settle down with her in our cave.
I mean, what's that old saying? Once you go foot, everything else is kaput.
Yes, that's the old saying. Alex.
That's right. T-shirts will be made coming soon.
Make it in a tank top so I can wear it. Oh, I'm even seeing like a pinup model, but it's a Bigfoot.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Old
sure.
School. She's got like a red bikini with white polka dots and
yeah,
big
just
hair
spewing out.
Hair sprayed Hades hair like a fucking an old Guns N' Roses video.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's hot.
So yeah, if I'm gonna die, sure. I'd rather live.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What about you ever have any naughty thoughts about the old video? The old Patterson video?
You got some nice cans. I mean, those things are fucking massive. Have you seen the enhanced image? I mean, dude, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I've seen the enhanced images.
Ridiculous. I guess I could even settle down with a hairy woman if she had tits that big. Jesus.
Alex, what do you think?
I mean, there's a lot of different scenarios intertwined between all what we've been talking about, but yeah, Planet of the Apes, that scenario, I was personally sitting there thinking, I was like, maybe at first I'd try to keep my integrity, but it'd be like prison essentially. Like over time, you're just like, I'm warming up to the idea.
And there's gay for the stay. So how do we make that for Bigfoot?
Yeah, right. And then live or die. I mean, you got to live. I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, so, but if one's just like coming up to me like, huh? And they're like, you can say no and be like, I'm gonna have to pass on that one. I'm sorry, Bertha.
I don't know, man. She might have them wiggles in their hips that just you can't. That's something that humans just can't do, according to Zac.
Yeah,
they got movements that humans can't even. They got angles that they're going to come at you at an angle that ain't no woman ain't ever been able to come at you at.
Yeah, but what if that becomes your thing? You're just going to start and it only happens once, and you're just going to spend the rest of your life wandering out in the woods.
Yeah.
Just trying to with a bottle of, or just like a box of candy and a bottle of lube. Like, come on, baby.
Apples.
I miss you.
They like apples.
Psycho
man.
stalker trying to fuck another Bigfoot.
Ooh, I got a quick one for you. My guy I used to work with and his dad, I worked with both of them. They had set some peanut butter in a Ziploc bag up hanging off of a tree and up on a hill behind the house. And Adam went up there and when he came back, he's like, yeah, Dad, I think we've got a Bigfoot back there. He goes, oh yeah, why? He goes, well, the peanut butter bag was ripped apart and there was a smeared peanut butter handprint about 9 feet in the air. 8, 9 feet in the air, where it just, well, maybe not that high, but it had reached up and smeared off the peanut butter that it hadn't eaten onto the bark of the tree. And you could clearly see finger lines.
Oh shit, dude! Did he take a picture of it? Oh, see, that's something you got to take a picture of, dude. That's one of the advices that we gave on this podcast recently, was that you have to always have your phone with you and fully charged so that if anything crazy like that shit happens, you can have either picture or video evidence of.
Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right.
That's
And
convince the scientific community.
yeah, because otherwise they say no. They say this shit didn't exist.
Right.
Naysayers.
Yep.
I hate naysayers.
For literally no good reason. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Mikey, what's your answer, though?
Come on. You already know what my answer is. You know, I'm fucking swinging that shit out.
Oh, he's getting it. Oh, he's getting it.
I'm stripping naked and running across that fire. Like, you can't hold me back. Watch out. Watch out. No, I'm a married man. I can't be doing that. That's what I tell her.
Or monkey pussy for me.
That's what I tell her. I'd be like, look, I'm sorry. I'm married. See this ring on my finger? I can't.
She's just going to growl at you and bite your finger off.
Yeah, she'll
then
just
still demand that you have sex with her.
and she'll kill me and she'll murder me. And I'm like, it's, at least I died knowing that my integrity was intact.
All right, assuming you're not married.
Yeah. Assuming I'm not married, we're having kids.
It's okay.
We're having babies. We're having little half human, half Bigfoot babies.
Mm.
I'm living on the trail from now on. I'm part of the family. I'm gonna be out there throwing rocks at boats and shit.
There you go.
There was 12 Bigfoot and one naked redheaded guy. I don't understand. And he was just part of the group. He was out there just throwing rocks at me. He's like, fucking God, get out of this is my fishing hole.
Instead of grunts, man, it was just unintelligible gibberish. But man, it was a guy. I guess he's been out there way too fucking long.
Yeah, that was it. He had an empty bottle of Woodford Reserve strapped to his fucking hip.
See, that's how we lure you back to society. Is we leave the treat out instead of an apple, it's a bottle of Woodford.
That's it. Yeah.
Blanton to me if I fall into that. Can't find me, leave a bottle of Blanton's on a log somewhere. I'll show up. Now, topic of future discussion, because you're talking about breeding there. Have you guys talked about aliens crossbreeding with humans?
Oh man, that happens constantly.
Mm-hmm. Like the pregnant women whose babies just disappear and there's no sign that they were ever pregnant.
What?
Yeah. So something for another podcast, but
oh yeah,
I've seen a couple of specials on that woman fully pregnant. She's like 7 months pregnant. And the next morning she wakes up after having an experience that, everything's kind of fragmented and foggy. She wakes up the next morning, not pregnant anymore, goes to the doctor, and they're like, there is literally no sign that you've ever been pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And after she'd already been to the doctor several times prior to that, where she'd been to her OBGYN and they'd been like, oh, all right, come back to this for this sonogram and all this shit, the whole 9 yards.
And then later claimed that she was abducted again and met her daughter, who had features of a gray.
Oh, wow. Dude, that's fucked.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Leave us hanging like that. God damn.
Yeah, that'll be a definitely good ass episode.
All right. Well, Zach, I don't know if you want people to come follow you anywhere, but if you do, where would they go and do that at?
The only thing I'm really active on, and I'm not active enough, but I'm on Instagram as @Bluestone_strongman. And if you're a strongman, power lifter, or just general weightlifter, I have a discount code for Cerberus Strength. It's Puzzle. You get 10% off of your order. And that's advertised on my Instagram also. So
Nice.
That's really the only thing I'm active on. I don't use Facebook anymore and haven't really made a YouTube presence.
All right. Well, there we go. Follow Zac on Instagram then. You can also follow Soberless Thoughts on Instagram at Soberless Thoughts. And you can follow us on Facebook at Soberless Thoughts. And you can follow us on Twitter at Think Soberless. Or just search Soberless Thoughts. Or send us an email at soberlessthoughts@gmail.com. What do we like to say at the end of these, Alex?
We like to say, when you're in the skillet, you need to stay cheesy, keep it greasy, and flip on out.
I can dig it.